Okay, go ahead. Oh, and I was going to say really quick, if you want to ask questions during the presentation, you can post them in chat at any time, and I'll keep track of them.
Great. If you could watch that, that would be a real big help. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and watch. It's a really short presentation, so we'll get started right away. I have to run out right after the presentation. I'm hosting another room, so if you have any questions and at the end we don't have time to get to them, my email address is at the end of the presentation, and you can send me some questions, or we can set up a time to talk some more. All right, so let's get right started. Just a brief outline of what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to give a really brief self-introduction and context of the project that we did. It's called the Blended Learning Project, basically trying to help teachers add more technology and blended learning styles into their teaching, and conclusions. And then I'll try and save 5 minutes at the end for Q&A. So if you have any questions, please save them until the end. Brief introduction about myself. So I've been teaching in Japan for over 15 years now. I'm still in Japan, and the first 13 years I taught at a junior college as my main job. But I've also worked at universities, technical colleges, elementary, as well as preschool. So 2 years ago, I was offered a position, an administrative position at an elementary and junior high school that was opening in my area. For me, it was a really interesting opportunity because I have a really wide educational interest. So I wanted to, I felt lucky to have the opportunity to, work on different areas of school and, help build a new program. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about the school that we're talking about for the project. I won't say any names, but if you want to contact me later, we can talk specifics. Generally, we're just generally I say that we are a private elementary and junior high school. We're located in the southern part of Japan in Kyushu. We were established 2 years ago. In our area in Nagasaki Prefecture, there are not very many elementary junior high school combination schools. So it's a bit of a rarity. We're a grade 1 to grade 9 school. But as we were established last year, we're just adding a new student group per year. So at the time when we did this project last year, we only had elementary grade 1 and 2 and grade 7 and 8 students in the school. We are a private school, but we're a Japanese Ministry of Education school, meaning we're following the Japanese Ministry of Education curriculum. So if anyone is familiar with Japan and the curriculum, they'll have an idea of what we're doing at our school. Something our school has done is we've added an extra period at the end of the day, and we've also have classes, half-day classes every second Saturday. So today was a work day, so I was working until 12:30 today. That totals up to about an extra 31 school days per year, and we've added English, ICT, and culture on top of the Japanese Ministry of Education standardized curriculum. My main job is helping develop this new English program. So in elementary, we're starting English from grade 1, 4 periods a week starting in grade 1 and onward, which is about 300, 400, 500 hours more than the standardized Japanese curriculum, which doesn't start until grade 5 and 6, or this year some activities starting in grade 3 and 4. Major goal of our school is a digital citizenship or digital literacy. So we have that kind of dual goal for our school. To give you a little background about the presentation we're going to do today. At the time, we had 6 English teachers at the school. We had 3 Japanese teachers of English and 3 non-Japanese or international teachers. And there's a very, very wide diversity in our teaching experience. So some with only a few years of classroom experience to like several decades. Also, we have a very big diversity in our tech savviness, which is, I don't know if that's an official term, but I think everyone gets the idea. is a, overall like willingness to use technology, or comfort or confidence in using different technologies, and trying out new technologies. And our context, even within the one school, is very different. So we have elementary teachers who are teaching like really young beginner learners to junior high school level, and within each of our classes we have a big range of students, ranging from like complete beginners to we even have in the elementary and the junior high school, we do have like native English speakers in the same classes. All right, so sorry for the little blurb about myself and the school, but I thought the context would help for understanding the project that we did, which is a blended learning project. As a coordinator, as an administrator, I really want to give my teachers the experience and expertise so that they can use new technologies and push themselves to try new things. As we've all seen this year, there's so many new emerging technologies and softwares and management systems that are now coming online and available. And really, I think technologies have the potential to improve education. I really feel that way. Obviously, there's some big challenges and difficulties with technology as well, but our school really wants to adopt using ICT to benefit our students. More so, I'm also very interested in using technologies to improve learning. So not only for the sake of using technologies, but I think technologies can really help to develop and to help teachers utilize more student-centered teaching practices, improve communication, improve many aspects of teaching, such as giving feedback and such things, efficiency for teachers in marking, et cetera, et cetera. There's lots of really important potential for technology. And also a really, really important point for doing this project was last year in April, we've been very, very lucky in Nagasaki, in the southern part of Japan. So we've been face-to-face almost the entire time during the pandemic. However, in April, we had to go to distance classes for just 2 or 3 weeks, I believe, around that time. And we really had a challenging time. We were lucky our school had the capability, all our students had devices through the school, and we had a learning management system set up and we were able to connect. But a real challenge we had was teachers didn't have the expertise to do more student-centered style teaching at distance. For example, like discussions and conversations and that type of thing. It ended up being very teacher-led activities. So this project was important because we wanted to help teachers gain the experience and confidence to do better lessons at distance if we needed to. So how we did the project is we all met as a department, English department, and introduced blended learning. And some of the teachers were quite familiar with blended learning already, but some teachers, it was quite new. The concept of, or at least the terminology was quite new. So we talked about what it was. Now for the really tech savvy group here today, you'll know that blended learning is like a pretty broad and not very specific term. Now there's better terms, but for our purposes, I just really wanted teachers to think about how they could let technology or use technology to help them in their teaching. So we weren't really too concerned about specific types of blended learning, or just getting them to use blended learning. Blended learning being, I'll define just briefly as regular face-to-face learning, but also some activities or would be done through technology, kind of independent of the teacher. I also gave some links to the teacher, so if they wanted to read more about it, they could go and read more about it. I also, wanted the teachers, my teaching staff, to understand what I thought the benefits of blended learning were. That would be giving students more autonomy over the learning, increasing motivation, also freeing up the teachers so we can give individualized support. And then also I really wanted to focus on how we could give students of different levels differentiated work. So we spent some time meeting and talking about this. We decided to use the PDCA cycle for this project. And I'm sure that most of you are probably quite familiar with this cycle. And even if you haven't heard the name, you're probably using it in your everyday lives all of the time. Basically, it's planning, doing, checking, and acting. So I wanted to scaffold this project so that way they could have confidence to try using new technologies. So we started by making a plan, and I set a timeline for when they could do their planning, and then hopefully when they would start teaching, and then when we could start talking and thinking about the challenges and benefits a little bit more, and then how they could take what they've learned into their next projects or activities. It was very open. Teachers could do a single task that was blended learning, or they could do a project, or they could do a lesson, or even an entire course based on using blended learning. So I left it up to the teachers based on their own confidence level. I asked them to challenge themselves. During the planning portion, I really wanted to support them and give them some guidance. So I asked them to think about making a one-page plan about what they wanted to do. This was important for two reasons. One, I wanted them to think through what they want, what their goals were. And then two, by getting this information, I could also think about how I could support them while they're doing their project. So the starting point for me was I really wanted them not to think about, oh, what kind of technology can I use, or what software can I use? Rather, I wanted them to think about what their goals were for their classroom goals, their language goals, or their language feature goals, and then think about how they could use technology to support the learning that they wanted to have happen in their class. Then I asked them to just briefly describe what they thought they would be doing face-to-face, and then what students would be doing individually. And when we started the project, we didn't know if the students would be in school or not. So it was teachers really needed to think flexibly about what they would do. Finally, the teachers gave me their plans, and they came up with some really fascinating and wonderful plans. So our elementary teacher decided to pass some digital books to students using a software that we're using called Loilo Note. It's basically passing PDFs to students, but you can record your voice over it or add text. So she passed these books to students so that way they could practice their reading at home. However, a lot of our elementary kids are some can read already and some can't read. And at home, some parents can support their reading and some parents can't support their reading. So how could we help them to do work on their own? She passed the books to the students digitally, and then she could record her voice over each page. The students at home could listen to the teacher, and then they could also record their own voice over top and then pass it to the teacher, and the teacher could hear it. So it ended up being, instead of a single modal reading practice or writing practice, it ended up being a listening, reading, and writing practice at distance at their own time. So that was a really interesting project that one of the teachers did. Another teacher was working on phonics with their junior high school students, helping them to master different spellings, and provided students with some videos that they could watch on their own, and then gave some online kind of game or trivia activities that they could access, such as on Kahoot or something like that, where they could go in and then listen to it and then see if they could get the correct answer. That was quite fun to watch as well. Another teacher was amazing. She, junior high school teacher, she had the students teach their peers stuff that they were learning in the textbook as a kind of review of what they were learning in the school. But she made the students, use technology to teach their peers. The students had to choose their own technology that they thought would be a good way to practice certain language features they were practicing in the textbook. And the students were amazing. They came up with, all different kinds of stuff. Some were using Flipgrid, some were using Kahoot, some were using Loilo Note, others were using Teams. It was quite fascinating to see the students, what they came up with. So this PDC cycle, PDCA cycle, is something that we're probably all naturally doing, but what I wanted to do is I really wanted to support them through this. So if they had support all the way through the cycle, then there was a more likelihood, in my opinion, that they would be successful, they would gain confidence, and then maybe want to, try to use new technologies or new skills. So during the planning cycle, I really focused on, just listening to what their plans were. And sometimes I would elicit if I thought maybe they hadn't thought about some technical issue or something like that. I could also give some advice. And I did also do some counseling and supporting, just calming down teachers and encouraging them and telling them that they could do it. During the do part of the cycle, when the teachers were, doing the actual blended learning in their teaching, if they wanted, I was open to come and observe. Also, I offered like assistance, so having an extra set of hands in the class, so I could be like a T2 or second teacher. I could help with students who are having trouble. I could, circulate and help with this teacher or students if they're having like technical problems. And then even in one case I modeled. So one of the teachers wanted to try using breakout rooms, but felt quite intimidated about like all of the things that she would need to do during the lesson while teaching the lesson and managing the computer and putting students into rooms. So for that part of the lesson, I took over and did the breakout room portion of her lesson, and she could observe in it. And then hopefully at the next opportunity, she'd have the confidence to do it on her own. So that was the do part of the cycle. I think a really important part of the cycle is the check part. And I think as teachers, probably, I know I'm guilty of it, is once the lesson is done or once something I've tried new is done, is I don't really spend enough time thinking about like how it could be improved or what were the good points or the bad points. So I really tried to help the teachers in this part, even the teachers who have much more teaching experience with me, perhaps even better teachers than me, but maybe had a little bit less confidence in using technology, so I could focus on the technology part. So we had post lesson discussions, and I kind of wanted them to notice certain things. We did some brainstorming sessions on how they could problem solve some of the issues that came up during their lesson, or if maybe they could try something different to achieve their learning goals in the classroom. I also had them fill out a questionnaire because I wanted to see, really how much had they learned or what were their feelings about using blended learning. So I'll just talk a little bit about that. So it was just a really brief questionnaire, but basically I wanted them to think about what they thought the benefits for teachers and for students in using this type of learning style, adding some computer or technology mediated activities. And then also what were the major challenges and difficulties for both themselves as teachers and for their students. And the teachers came up with of course, really, poignant ideas. So I won't talk a lot about that, but basically, they really noticed that students were enjoying that type of teaching. They didn't have to micro teach, so they were free to go and do other things. And one thing I was really happy is one of the teachers noticed that it was doing this way made it a lot easier to give students different leveled work. So that, as I said earlier, in our school we have a really broad range of language ability. So I really want to focus on giving different level work in the future within the same class, if possible. Benefits for students, so they noticed that it was motivating and that the students had a little bit more autonomy about what they were doing or the pace. They had more opportunities to access content at any time at home, for example. So I was really happy to see that the teachers had picked up on all of those things. There was, of course, many challenges, and I'm sure everyone here this year who has been been doing more online work or blended, more challenging year doing distance learning, that there are many problems that come with using technology. And I think that is inevitable. I think we just need to encourage teachers to have the confidence to try something in a goal-oriented way, look at the benefits and the challenges, overcome the challenges, and then in that way grow. So that's what the PDCA cycle is all about. Yeah. So it was quite successful project. Just brief conclusions. I think that, using technology is, there's so many opportunities with technology to make education or improve education, but we also really need to remember that we need to focus on our content goals for our courses. That, we have to weigh the benefits and the challenges, and hopefully find ways to overcome the challenges. So my last point for everyone here, maybe you didn't have someone who can help you and come in the class with you, but if you can find support throughout the cycle of trying a new skill, whether it's technology or maybe a new teaching methodology or something like that in your teaching practice, that try and find support through it. That will help you gain the confidence to master and gain more expertise. All right, so that's the end of my presentation. I went a little bit longer than I thought, so we only have 3 minutes for Q&A or just discussion, so feel free.
Whoever would like to unmute themselves first and give a big hand. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And then go ahead. We're a small group, if you just want to unmute yourself and ask questions, if you have any questions, or you could type them in chat, either way.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, of course.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about the students' response and how they had more confidence. I was wondering if you had any other insight in how they coped with dealing with new apps and new ways to do stuff in class. How that was.
Well, I think like teachers, some teachers are, like really comfortable and excited about trying new software, and other teachers don't have confidence. So the students were exactly the same. So some who are, tech savvy or interested in technology or like, trial by error type, no problem. They like jumped in, and they were in fact, a lot of the times teaching us how to use new softwares. And then we also have students who are, quite intimidated about doing something new. And I think that's, partially like personality based as well. But in general, our students are, they're very, very, very quick and now getting used to technology because they're using it every day in our school. That the student side is usually not that difficult. It's usually the teachers like challenging a new skill that is the most difficult.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so well, I really want to say thank you to Roberto and Emily and everyone for coming today.
Thank you very much. One more big hand of applause. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for helping out today. I appreciate it. Everybody give a big round of applause for our